was just...
Okay, so very, 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 very stupidly, I managed to get disconnected. That was good, wasn't it? Never mind. Here we go. Let's just make sure everything's working before I start again. Yes, it's working. Marvellous. Okay, so, brief recap. What was I doing? Well, playing Democracy 3 to celebrate the EU referendum and direct democracy tonight. I will be commenting, as I say, on the referendum results as they come in. I have a few different streams here across my monitors, so hopefully we should get them as they come in. At the moment, the UK is out of the EU. Kettering has just come in with a vote that swung us back out of the EU, which is a slight shame, but well, I don't know. I got to the ballot box and I really didn't know. So one way or another, I don't think it's going to affect me as much as people would like to believe. Anyway, back to the game. United Kingdom. In 2012, I am going to be in control of this country. I am going to play as... Oh, now, you see, here's the question. What do I play as? Do I play as the Conservatives and try and play as a Conservative? Do I play as the Labour Party and try to play as what would Labour have done had they won? I think, actually, I'm going to play as Labour Party, but I'm going to play Opposition Party. Of course you want the Conservatives. But I am definitely going to vote. Political apathy is at 40%, which is about right. At the moment, the turnout is in the UK for the referendum is about 60%. For most of our general elections, they tend to be about 60% as well, there or thereabouts. Local elections tends to dip to sometimes 55, but it is about right. About 40% of our population is... apathetic to voting. They don't go out and vote. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to tweak it actually and take it down to about 35%, which reflects more accurately what's going on tonight. I hope. No promises. Innate liberalism, 100%. Innate socialism, 100%. I'm not going to mess with those. I'm going to trust the game to know what it's doing. Well, I take a quick swig of tea. Lovely, lovely Ceylon tea. So, yes, we're going to play as a Labour Party, but I'm going to play as a Tony Blair-style government, as a Tony Blair-style Labour Party, as a centrist Labour Party, or at least as centrist as you can get. So, here we go. Congratulations on my election victory. Our GDP is on the floor, we have high unemployment, low-ish crime, okay-ish health, okay education, and okay-ish poverty. This is going to be fun. Now, look at that. That is a horrible, horrible sight, is it not? I know a couple of people who've been overwhelmed by this game, because it is so in-depth. I'm going to do my best to explain it, and to guide everybody through it, but no guarantees I will be fantastic at doing that. So, here we go. Yeah, basically, we have all these different things. So, do I want to make my socialists happy? Do I want to make my commuters happy? Do I want to make my liberals happy? Basically, all of these here in the centre are basically my popularity with different sections of society. So as you can see, socialists, capitalists, retired, motorists, patriots, and so on and so forth. At the moment, middle income is pretty much on the floor, as are capitalists, which, if assuming that this version of democracy got the figures on the UK just right, then it's quite close, actually. It would represent why, and it would explain partly why we got a Conservative government. Or rather, we got a coalition government, which was essentially Tory light. It was Conservative light in the closest referendum to that. But we're going to play, I'm going to try and play centrist. I'm going to try and be sensible here. So, what we have up here on our top left is our political capital. Now, political capital, basically, you need enough political capital to push through your ideas into law or into policy. So you've only got so much of this to spend. This is our income. This is our expenditure. This is basically when this gets to the end, there's another election, and I get to see whether I continue or I fail. Now, knowing me, I'll spectacularly fail, because I tend to try to do too much too soon. What I ideally would like to do is, by the time we get 3/4 of the way through our term, I would like to have got the expenditure to either equal or below our income, but we'll see. Up here, we have our intelligence briefing. Yes, you can be assassinated in this game if you try and do something and you fail. Oh, sorry. Yeah, if you try and do something and you fail, you can be assassinated. That's not good. Polling. This gives us our polling data. So at the moment, there's really not much data on us, on me, which is probably good. We can have a nice focus group. At the moment, my approval's 47%. That's not too bad. Up here we have our budget, our income, and as you can see, this is actually fairly reflective again of the United Kingdom. State health service, we do have one. State pensions, we have them. So we've got to be careful here. But we are, as I say, we're going to try a few things. Now, my only bugbear with this game is in, now, where is it? I think policies are there, but I haven't got access to them just yet. When we get to policies, I will explain what my bugbear is, because there's a lot of things under policies that were already in effect in 2012 that are not in effect in this game, and that's kind of where the game part of it comes in. That's where it's not true to the electoral system, which I think is a bit of a shame. So we'll get to that when we get to that. For now, though, what's my first act in government going to be? So let's have a look at the red here. What we've got. Alcohol abuse is quite high because alcohol consumption is quite high. Now we could simply decide, now is this what it... Yep, there we are, alcohol law. So we could decide we want to put up the minimum age for buying alcohol. Now that's going to cost us 13 political capital. We've got 26. And, it's kind of... It's going to put alcohol consumption down, which is good. It's going to put violent crime... yeah, that could be a problem. And hopefully it's going to put youth down. So young people are not going to be happy with us. Liberals are also not going to be happy with us. So maybe that's not the best idea. I think it's fair. 18 seems a fair age. You know, you have a bit of a muck about when you're 18. Homelessness. Now, this is one I would like to cure. So, homelessness has a big negative effect on the poor. Has a positive effect on crime. It adds to crime. So what we need to do is we need to get down on unemployment. Now, agricultural subsidies apparently take away from unemployment. So, as you can see, there's an awful lot of issues. What I'm going to try and do is be as sensible as possible. Oh dear, there's so much here I could do. What have we got here? Let's pick on this. Creationism versus evolution. That could be a bit of a hot potato. And actually, I think at the moment it is fairly centrist. We do have, despite what you would say, a good percentage of our population here in the UK are Christian. So we do have to bear them in mind. We do have to bear that in mind if we're being truly centrist. I honestly don't know where to start. This is my problem. I'll waffle about for a bit and try and work out where to start. Technology backwater. So, you know what? I think we could all agree that it would be a good idea if I could... Oh, clean energy subsidies. I'd like to do that, actually. But that's going to put up a lot of... No. I don't want to do that. So we've got to cut spending, and that's the problem. So what we're going to do... that's policy, that's transport, that's law and order services, tax, economy, welfare. What's that one? What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to find foreign aid, because I think, actually... Foreign relations... What's this? Foreign aid. Here we go. I think we need to just dip that down. We're still going to fund. We are still going to fund it, but we're going to cut it. So what was it to begin with? It was 5. I think if we take it down to 2.5, you know, we can't help everybody, unfortunately. But let's take that down to 2.5. What do we got here? Bus lanes. That doesn't cost us that much, though, so I'm going to leave that for now. I'm just going to go through the next 3 months. Click the next term. Let's see how that happens. So we've had the Shetland Islands come in while I've been waffling about. And the Shetland Islands have voted in, but it's still not enough to swing the election back towards IN's side. I know a lot of people on both sides of the coin today, and it's bizarre trying to work out I don't know. This is the problem. I am inherently centrist. Oh, freedom of information. Should I accept the proposal or reject it? I think, yeah, let's going to propose that. Budget report, there is a surplus. Huh. So, cutting foreign aid created a budget surplus. Let's see how that goes for a while, shall we? So there is a surplus now. We've managed to sort out our income and expenditure by halving the amount of aid we send abroad. Now, what else can we do? Can we put up a tobacco tax? Now, here's the thing. What we'd like to do is put it up there, which would drop tobacco use down and help all the other things it feeds into. Unfortunately, and it would help poverty apparently as well. Sorry, it would add to poverty. It would make poverty worse. It would make things less equal. So we're not gonna bother with that just now. What we are going to do is look at, now that's our quarterly report. We want political parties. Where is it? Policies. That's why I couldn't find it. Okay, so this is what I was saying earlier. There are policies, so welfare, for example, disability benefit. We already have disability benefit here in the UK. And this is the bit of the game I don't like, is the fact that these things aren't already implemented in certain in the game setup, and I would love to be able to do that. And now I presume, because there's a big modding scene for the game, I presume that that's possible. But for now, I'm really kind of not. I'm not worrying about it too much, really. But I think we do need to put a disability benefit in. Now, we do have a surplus, so it's not a huge surplus, but it is a surplus. I think we're going to try and get it to 1 billion per quarter. And let's see, my mouse clearly is not cooperating. I want exactly 1 billion. There we go, 1 billion a quarter. There we go. So we now have a disability benefit. As you can see, it should have affected our expenditure. Tea, lovely tea. You know what? You go too long without tea, and you start off like Arthur Dent. Looking back at the election results, though, it's we're still heading out of the European Union so far. Debt protection law. So collection agencies have been in the news because of aggressive methods to extract payment from people who owe large sums of money. Law is proposed to limit the ways in which such agencies can operate. So we can either limit their agency or allow them to operate. See, this is a difficult one, because personally, I do believe that if you know you can't repay the money, you shouldn't borrow it. You really shouldn't. But the thing is, a lot of these sort of dosh for you nonsense. Hang on, that's from a Hustle episode, isn't it? But the same principle applies. A lot of these sorts of money for you payday loan companies are actually really nasty. They charge huge amounts of money to normal people who don't necessarily read all the fine print. And yes, in theory, it might be their own problem. It might be their own reason. Oh, we've had South Tyneside come in, who voted out. That keeps us heading towards out of the EU. Oh, well, you know, but that said, we're only, let's see. Come on. Took over. 71% turnout, not bad. So perhaps I was right to lower our voter apathy. I still don't know how many more there are. There was a couple of hundred. There's at least 350 left to report in, so it could all change by the end of the night. Yeah, so debt protection law, I kind of think we should probably go that way. I don't know whether that's centrist, because the problem with this game, again, you've got to take action one way or another. I think taking action there is probably the right thing, though. Our cabinet members are trustworthy. This is good. Polls, people are indifferent to the government. Well, now, here's the problem. I actually don't have a problem with them being indifferent to us. Because, you know what? Actually, if they're indifferent, that doesn't bother me. That really doesn't bother me. 48%, if we're going to get around half of the vote in the next election, I think that's fair. You know, that seems about right. We've got a minor budget deficit of 2.34 billion. Now, that will be because I brought in the disability benefits. But we can sort that out. Oh, YouGov polls being quoted on Sky. Now, see, this is the problem with polls. There's a lot they don't take into account, a lot they do take into account. Never quite trust them. But apparently, in voters, apparently 18 to 24, 75% of those people are likely to vote in. No, that's a lot of people. In my age group, however, it's 56% are likely to vote in, and 44% are likely to vote out. Which sort of shows how you change as you grow older. Now, what can we do? See, capitalism we really do need to raise a little bit, and I think middle income it's fair to raise a little bit. So we've got property tax, inheritance tax, or income tax. Now, income tax at the moment... Income tax at the moment is bringing us in a lot of money, but if we raise it, we're going to make things even worse for the middle income people, even worse for the capitalists, even worse for pretty much everybody. If we lower it, we're going to make things better, but we're going to have a bigger deficit. These are the fine lines. Inheritance tax. Let's not look at inheritance tax. Property tax. Now, this is an interesting one. It's levied on the value of homes. So if you own a really expensive home, you pay a lot of tax. But sadly, it doesn't work that way. It basically is 30% of every house that's sold. Now, if I turn it down, you can see that things get better for people. But the socialists don't like it, and neither do people who support equality. Which is weird, because you'd think turning the property tax down would help everybody. The rich and the poor, but clearly it doesn't. So, I think... What's this? Is this a luxury tax? It's a sales tax. Yeah, again... Oh, West Dunbartonshire is in, and that's a voting in, but it's still not enough to swing us back to the in campaign. I think a lot of my friends are not going to be too happy tonight. Now, corporation tax. See, we could make the socialists very happy, but we're going to make the capitalists haters. What we are going to do, though, is I'm going to revert the changes and try and take us up to about 21.5 billion. It's not a huge change, but just enough to try and even out this income expenditure problem. We're also going to look at other policy ideas we've got. So welfare, childcare provisions. We don't really have too much of that anymore in the UK, so I'm not going to worry about that. Welfare fraud. See, here's the thing. Potential costs are quite low, but this potential income could vary hugely. I don't think it's worth it. Clearly, our Conservative government, our successive governments here in the UK, have actually thought that this was a good idea because, people are scamming the system. But when you look at the numbers, actually the numbers kind of back this model up. It could vary hugely. Estimates could be that there are a lot of people scamming the system, or that it could be that very few people are scamming the system. Nobody quite really knows, because you have those people who are right there in the middle and can't be easily categorized. You know, if you take away £15 a week from somebody, and then they have to, and then they are worse off by £15 a week, was that the right thing to do? Is it not better just to leave them on that benefit? I'm jiggling my hands around as if people are watching me. This is bizarre. Anyway, winter fuel subsidy, something we do have, which was granted to older people here in the UK. Not everybody agreed with this. It cost us a lot of money to implement, and in the game here it would cost us a lot of money. We've had Dundee who voted in. Again, still not enough. Still 30... No. We are 1%, 2% in it. 20... No. About 14,000 votes in it. Not a lot. This is a close referendum tonight. Rent controls. Now, see, here in the UK, this is something I really believe we should put in place. We should put in place rent control. Now, they call it here an alternative to state housing, but it's a system where the state would basically say to the rental market, sorry, you've got to make sure that your housing is affordable. I like this. And I think, actually, on both sides of the coin, you're not going to have people evicted, and therefore you're not going to have houses empty, which means that those people who own the houses are going to have their houses occupied more of the time. They're going to get less money, but if you own enough houses to start renting your houses out, then you have quite a bit of money anyway. You have capital. So I think it makes sense to implement this. Now, it's not going to cost us a lot. It really is going to cost us pocket change in the grand scheme of things. But yeah, I'm going to put that in, and I think that's going to help us. I could be wrong, but we'll see. And we're going to go next. Yeah. Oh, here we go. Oh, priceless art theft. Oh dear. Conservative media don't like that. Budget report, small budget deficit of 4.7 billion, so it's getting worse. That's worrying. Human Rights Society says it actively encourages members to oppose the government. Well, they've been saying that, so that's not a problem. We've gained our share of the vote, though. We've gained 6% of the vote here, or the potential vote, so that's not too bad. Our cabinet members are still loyal. This is good. Let's see, actually, who our cabinet is. So, each of these cabinet members are bringing a certain amount of political capital. Let's see. There are people who could give us more political capital. So we could do a reshuffle and bring new people in. We could, get rid of some of these people. But actually, we're getting a good, idea. So the person who's in charge of welfare sympathises with patriots and capitalists, which is a bit difficult. Ideally, you want somebody who isn't really sympathising with many people, but for now, we're going to keep them as they are until somebody messes up. Now, what have we got here? Organised crime is quite high. Well, we can't really afford to put our intelligence services up. Now, one thing that our government did do, that I'm not overly happy with, I'll be honest. Border controls, no. What else? We've got international trade. International trade's good. Immigration. That really doesn't affect us too much. Foreign aid, still 2.3 billion, so we are still giving money. Racial tension. There's not much we can do about that right now. What have we got? Foreign relations. CO2 emissions. We can't really afford to put clean energy subsidies up too much. And we can't really afford to put in many pollution controls, so let's not worry about that too much now. Right, labour laws. So at the moment they're quite balanced. I think we need to keep them there. We need to keep them as balanced, because if we sway them one way or another, we're not being centrist. So I'm not going to bother with that. Recycling, bottle banks. See, recycling costs us a lot. And it does genuinely here in the UK. Limited doorstep collection, which is pretty much what we've got in most areas of the UK. It's very, very limited. We don't recycle everything that we can, mainly because the machinery isn't there and various people don't like it and blah blah blah. I could go on and on. I won't though. What have we got here? Uncompetitive economy. So productivity. How do we get productivity up? We've got to get better health, a better standard of education. Okay, education. Science funding. I think everybody... Now again, even a slight increase is going to cost us a lot of money. So, if we want to reduce our expenditure, we won't be able to fix things. So, what can we lose? I think the only thing really we can do, what I am going to do, and people aren't going to like me for this, but I'm going to put tobacco tax up to 30%. I'm going to apply that. Not everybody will like it, and they'll probably hate me for it, but I think it's necessary. Economy. Right, so, consumer rights. It's going to cost us a little bit of money, but it's going to be popular, so I'm going to implement it. Automated refunds, right to return, cooling off period. I think, actually, right to return is probably the correct way to go. And we're going to balance that then okay-ish. So we're going to do that. And we've only got 11 political capital left, so let's carry on. No more new votes, no more new results in the European referendum, which is a bit of a shame. Ban animal testing. So, products are only tested on animals to ensure there's no chance of danger to humans. Practices are offering incredibly cruel... Now, here's the thing. the evidence, the scientific evidence, from what I understand, actually supports the ban argument, that you can't base your decisions solely on animal testing, and that you would need then to still test on humans. So I think we are going to ban it. That makes sense. Global economy is doing okay, but we're neither in boom nor bust. This is good. Still trustworthy cabinet. 52%. We've gone down a bit, which is a shame. Our unemployment is still high, so I'd like to get that down a bit, I think. So we got our tobacco tax up. Petrol tax. That could get us a lot of money, but also make us very, very annoyed. So we're not going to bother with that right now. Alcohol tax. This is something that goes up steadily. It does, unfortunately. I think... See, that's very judgmental, the idea that it's going to make the poor worse off. I don't know. What do we got here? What haven't we looked at? Pollution controls. Major fines for pollutions. See, the environmentalists are going to like us, but the capitalists are going to hate it. But it would get our CO2 emissions down, which would help our international standing. So our international standing is going to be helped by CO2 emissions being lowered. Our GDP is going to go down because they can't make everything they'd like to make. Environmentalists are going to like us. That's going to go up. The capitalists aren't going to like us because they can make less money because they've got major fines being introduced, and the environmentalists are going to like us. So the question is, do we want to be liked, or do we want to actually sustain our economy? So I think at the moment, government targets is probably the right way to go. Restrictions and fines, we start tipping into that idea of, but we're going to go on the low end of the restrictions and fines and see how that goes. Now, economy. Rural development grants. See, if we implement this, which could cost us a lot of money, but it will get us money back in the long term. Same with small business grants. I think the rural development grants are going to get us less money, but they're going to cost less money, but there's a chance that they're going to help us. And I am going to take it all the way up. I'm going to see how that works. We're going to try that out. Oh, we've had a new few. We've had... so Scotland is overwhelmingly in the European Union at the moment. They're 60% to 39% in. But that's only 6 of 32 elections. And it's a lot closer than I thought, Scotland. Although it seems to bear out the results of the Scottish referendum of whether or not they would be independent or not. So, interesting times. Oh dear. Well, credit rating was something that actually happened here in the UK. We did have our credit rating downgraded. It's a shame, but we can live with it. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do something really, really stupid. I am going to not implement anything for a few turns. Media backlash. Oh dear. They don't like our policy so far. Oh well. And yet, the polls have said only 41%, so we've lost a lot of people. Which is a shame. But I'm going to carry on. I'm going to carry on regardless. I'm going to click ahead 3 more months. We're at BB. They don't like that, do they? 46% of our population think they'll vote for us. But we're going to leave it there. Right, okay, so we're in a terrible state with our income. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to get rid of all foreign aid. Get rid of all the foreign aid we can. Apply that. It's not a lot, but it's something. Now, military spending. People don't really like the military spending. We're going to really get the patriots annoyed at us. Unemployment is going to increase, though, if we decrease military spending. So I don't think cutting to the military is really worth it. It's cost effective, but it's not really worth it. Food Standards Agency. Child benefit. Now, how's that? That's going to make a lot of people hate us, but it's going to save us a lot of money. See, this is the problem. And I think this is why, actually, I think this game is something that everybody should play. Because the more you look into it, the more you consider it, if you just sort of look at all of these options that are right in front of us now, and it's such a fine balancing act. I mean, if you look at all the links to each individual piece, to each individual group, you start to realise exactly why it is that no government can have such can have 100% approval, and why it is actually so difficult for everybody. Look at all the things that cause unemployment, all the things that affect unemployment, and it's so difficult to sort all this out. And what I love about this game is it shows you just exactly how it is that that things work, that how difficult it is for a government to actually sit down and go, okay, we're going to fix the country. Because no matter what policy you put in place, you're always going to alienate somebody, you're always going to affect somebody. And that's why I love this game, and I think more people should actually be forced to sit down and play it. I am actually going to... I've decided I'm going to screw it, and I'm going to try and raise money. We've got to increase corporation tax. Now in the UK, I think we're actually about 25%, so I'm going to put it up to that, which is about equivalent to what we're at now. Oh, that's nice. Nice, lovely cup of tea. Can't beat tea. So we're going to see how that plays out. It's probably not going to play out very well, but we'll see. While we do that, I'm going to check in with Twitter and all different chats. I haven't put out a Twitter thing in a while, so I probably should. Tennis match continues. There we go, nothing of interest to say. Join me. Twitch TV / boom, there we go, that can go out. Oh, oh dear, I love that, looking at other people's tweets. Right, okay, so back to the game. Curb banking bonuses, yes. See, I really would like to restrict the banking bonuses. I think that's one thing we should have done. But the thing is, and I've done it here, because it's going... See, again, if you look at that, people are just fickle. Now they want to vote for us. Before, we lost stuff, and now... Ugh. Terrible. Right, there, our income gap is not too bad. What have we got here? Road building. I don't think we want to really... I think fixing roads is more important than building roads, and I think people could agree on that. So again, this is the point where I start diverging from the centrist ideas. And I start going, you know what, screw it, la-da-da-da-da, I'm going to do all these things. Bus subsidies. See, I don't like any of these. See, we do have free bus passes for certain people, but it costs a lot of money. Gambling. See, we have gambling here in the UK, and that's not a problem. But it causes other problems, which you can't see here. You don't really... Till you enact a policy, you can't necessarily see what's going to put things in. Public services. Now, university grants aren't going to help us in the short term. They're going to help us in the long term. So if I put these university grants in place, it probably isn't going to help me. In fact, it's probably going to hurt me, because in the short term it's going to cost a lot of money, but in the long term I'm going to have more educated citizens. And again, this is one of the reasons why people don't get politics, is because they'll look at it and go, oh, well, the government's spending a lot of money, but we also want free universities. Well, you kind of have to start thinking about these things. It's so frustrating listening to people when they really haven't thought about these things. So I'm going to implement university grants. It's the right thing for the country. For the moment, I'm going to put fees paid. I think that's right. It's going to cost us a lot of money, but I'm going to put fees paid. Now, alcohol tax. I'm afraid, sorry to people who drink, but I am going to have to put that up as well. Economy. See, again, we have maternity leave here in the UK, and we should put that in, but we can't at the moment, so we're going to carry on. Stress epidemic. Oh dear, that's not good. Credit rating downgraded. Well, I don't really care about the credit rating too much. But again, we're gaining popularity, and this weird thing where you could implement a government could come in and implement all really great policies. But then the problem is, are those policies going to allow us to keep ourselves afloat? And the answer is not. I mean, looking at the EU referendum now, the figures are so close, so close. We're at 50.2% to 49.8%, with a turnout of 68%. That is such a close call. And I would be very interested to see what happens if it comes down to a 50% vote. What happens then? Do we just remain in? Do we have another referendum? Does the government then vote? Nobody's quite actually answered this question, which I think is a great shame. You know, people have said, oh, well, of course this will happen, or of course that will happen. And you can't answer that. There's just no answering that, which really is a shame. But for now, let's carry on with the game. Switch back to that screen. In fact, actually, I'm going to pop that there. No, I'm going to pop that there. I'll pop that there, and pop that there. There we go. That makes more sense. Yep, that makes sense, I think. Sorry, fixing my screens. Right, now, I'm going to do what I did a couple of rounds ago, and I am going to skip ahead a few turns. Positive discrimination. See, positive discrimination, I don't think helps, personally, right? If you want to be completely equal, positive discrimination can kick you in the backside. But at the same time, it should, if it helps, I think it should continue to help. So, I don't know. I'm stuck on this, but for now, I'm going to reject it. I don't know. I'm going to reject it, I think. People are indifferent to the government, but they estimate getting 66% of the vote in an election. That's pretty good. So I'm not going to worry about that too much. Credit rating, worryingly, just B. Well, we're going to try not to borrow as much money, so it's fine. Here we go. So I'm going to skip ahead again. Appoint a UN ambassador. Right, so who have we got? We've got Regina Phillips, a well-known patriot, fight tooth and claw to get our interests represented. Steve Harris is a popular figure with a reputation for solving difficult problems through compromise and understanding. But he's also popular with liberals and socialists. I like that he's very much compromise and understanding, so I'm going to appoint him. I think that's the right choice. Our credit rating hasn't gone down, and we've still got about 65%. Oh, intelligence experts have intercepted communications which suggest a pro-capitalist corporate-funded terror group known as the Battenberg Group may be considering action against our government. Oh, that's not good. But on the upside, our unemployment is going down, which means in the long term, our GDP should go up. So, let's see where we are. See, our income expenditure is not terrible, but we are getting there. It's slow, but we're getting there. Now, small business grants. Again, this will have a long-term payoff, but it's a short-term problem. So, we're definitely not going to do oil drilling subsidies. I don't think there's any section of our society that would want us to subsidise oil drilling. Makes no sense financially. Makes no sense any other way. So, I'm going to do robotics. I can't see how that's going to help us. So I'm not going to worry about that. Tax shelters, that would cost us a lot of money, so I'm not going to worry about that either. Work safety law. Now, people were stressed, so I think actually we should implement work safety. And we'll implement it at a... self-employed people. See, this is the problem. Every time you implement something like this, self-employed people are always in the grey area. You don't quite know, and productivity would go down. Can we get it? We're going to have low work safety laws, just for the moment. Because that's all we've got essentially at the moment, is we've got a health and safety executive who's come out and say, you know what, have some common sense. And I think common sense makes sense. You know, if you want people to not, you know, to not fall off ladders, you know, they shouldn't be able to sue if they fall off a ladder because they just, no. You know, if the ladder's broken and it hasn't been repaired by the company, then fair enough. You know, just then that makes sense. But it's up to the individual worker to make sure they're safe, as well as the company. And I think that's a sensible tack to take. What else was I going to introduce? Long-term small business grants I think could help, so I'm going to implement them. Oh, it's going to cost us a lot of money though. At the moment I'm going to start low-ish. Yeah, I'm going to start low, and we'll see how that works. Next. Oh dear. Well, there's not much we can do about that, so I'm not going to worry. 69%. We are getting pretty high up on our poll reports, which is kind of cool. Battenberg's group still hate us. Our GDP's gone down, which I suppose in the short term it will do. Let's try again. Religious symbols in schools. Now, here's the thing. I understand the debate. I do. Personally, I don't think faith schools should be a thing. I think faith is something that's personal to everybody, and it should be deeply personal. But before I get on to that, we have had a few other votes in the EU referendum. We are now up back. We're still in the outcamp to Merthyr Tydfil is out of the European Union. That surprises me. I would never have thought Merthyr would have gone out. Voted out. Stockton-on-Tees has voted out, Basildon has voted out, and Midlothian has voted in. Not a surprise, because Midlothian is Scotland. But Merthyr Tydfil, I never imagined the Valleys would vote out. I can sort of see why. You've got the whole Tata Steel thing going on, and competition from outside the European Union, and European Union didn't really do much. But at the same time, it surprises me that Wales seems to be heading more towards the outvote. It is what it is, I suppose. I don't quite get that. But yeah, Merthyr Tydfil voting leave. I'm surprised by that. I'm just updating that. Kind of surprised. I did live down in that neck of the woods for a while in South Wales when I was younger. Spent a lot of time learning Welsh, which was an absolute useless thing for me to do. Haven't really spoke much Welsh at all. But nevertheless. So we're at 52% for out and 47% for in. Anyway, right, religious symbols in schools. Yeah, faith is a personal thing. I myself do believe a certain set of things. I do have a faith. I don't talk about it that often because it is personal. I will have conversations with people when religion or the subject of faith comes up, and I think that's an important discussion to have. In schools, however, I don't think religion has a place, because a school should be a place about learning, about fact, and I can understand the idea of discovering different cultures and what different cultures believe. It's a slippery slope. I do kind of think, though, if you're introducing a ban, you're introducing a ban for everybody. If you're rejecting a ban, you're rejecting a ban for everybody. So either way, it's a middle of the ground policy. You know, you're not saying that I'm going to ban a symbol of the Sikh religion, but I'm going to keep a Christian religion symbol. So I think realistically, for me, and this is a personal thing, I'm going to introduce it because I don't believe religion has a place in schools. But that's my own issue. Now, interestingly, 70%, we're getting popular. And our GDP is finally starting to tick up. So all those things we did earlier is starting to have an effect on us, which is exactly what I was saying. And this is the thing that gets me. A lot of the financial problems we suffered at the beginning of David Cameron's premiership were as a result of what the Labour Party had done. Likewise, the Labour Party took over from John Major took over from Margaret Thatcher, and so on. And policies don't exist in a vacuum. They do take time to enact. And I think we as a population need to start considering that. We need to start considering that things have long-term effects. They don't have short-term effects. It's really difficult to get short-term effects. I'm waving my hands about like an idiot. I should probably have put a camera on me so you can all see me waving my hands about like a lunatic, and then not feel quite so bad. So here we go. Right, tax. An airline tax, a carbon tax, car tax. We do have a car tax here in the UK. It's not very popular with voters, obviously. Flat income tax. Not very popular at all. Internet, definitely not. Luxury goods tax. Now, it's kind of popular, but the other thing is it will bring in money. Now, we actually have a luxury goods tax here in the UK, and we call it VAT. That's what VAT actually is meant to be. It's meant to be a tax on luxuries. And as a tax on luxuries, VAT works really well, with the exception of distinctions between biscuits and cakes. And if you don't get what I'm talking about, then please go and look it up. It's actually hilarious to see people campaigning so that their particular product can be seen as a cake or a biscuit. It's bizarre. The good old cup of tea. A great British cup of tea is tax-free. It's VAT-free. It is seen as an essential, something you need to survive. So we do have VAT. The idea is that anything that there's VAT on is a luxury. Unfortunately, VAT is on a lot more things that technically aren't luxuries. You know, VAT exists on things like phones, on computers, on... I don't know about the internet. I would imagine at the moment it actually does appear on the internet. I should look that up at some point. For now, though, I'm going to implement a luxury goods tax. I think it's a good idea. And it will bring us in $4 billion a quarter. I think we can bring that down a bit. See, the wealthy don't like it, the capitalists don't like it, the high earners don't like it. But, you know, I think $3 billion is reasonable. And it is a fair system, because then everybody pays equally, you know. If you've got luxuries, you should really pay for them. You know, you shouldn't be surprised. What else can we bring in? Microgeneration grants, mansion tax. Now, this is something that, when the 2008 credit crunch hit, everybody wanted a mansion tax. Everybody wanted people to be taxed high. Again, right now we have a sugar tax coming in on fizzy drinks and the like. I'm not a fan of that. I don't think it equals things. I think it's a great idea for promoting health, but I think health really should be a matter of the individual. You know, if you want to go out and gorge yourself on junk food, let yourself gorge yourself on junk food. If you want, however, to, you know, be healthy, be healthy. That's a personal choice, and I don't think it's really the realm of the government. Now, if you're talking about bringing money in, I can understand that. Potential income, $500 million, really in the scheme of things here, of what we're talking about, it's not an awful lot. Yeah, that's not going to happen, ever. At best, the evidence on something like this would be dodgy. So we're not going to do. We are, however, and this is something that really bugs me. See, I would put in a plastic bags tax. The problem is, a plastic bags tax is not going to bring us in a lot of money. However, if I do that, I could also bring in... where is it? Welfare. No. I want my arts subsidies. Arts subsidies. There've got to be arts subsidies somewhere. Public services. No. Arts subsidies now. How much? See, I would bring in a low level of arts subsidies and subsidise it through the plastic bag tax. Now, from what I understand, this is what happened in Wales. This is what Wales did when the plastic bag tax first came in there. They took the money and gave it to arts and charities. And at the moment it goes to charities, but those charities are kind of... It's up to the companies which charities they go to. I kind of think... I like the idea of the tax going to the government and then the government using that to fund the arts. I think that's a nice thing. So, can we do both? Yes, we can. So that's what I'm going to do. So, implement it. At the moment it's going to bring in 182, so 150 million. I'm going to try and up that to... Can I get it to... Oh, no. I can get it to there. That's about right. And then I'm going to bring in my art subsidies. Now I'm going to lower them down as... so I can either fund opera houses or puppet shows. Well, for now I'm going to do puppet shows, but we'll see how it goes. I think for now it's kind of cool. So again, we're going to give it a few turns. Oh, the capitalists really don't like me, so I should probably do, if I really cared, I should do something that was going to help them. The problem is, my unemployment is down with what I'm doing, and my GDP is up. It's all heading the right way. But I'm alienating the capitalists. Clearly, I should fear for my life, but I'm not going to. So, right, Middle East country we have no formal extradition treaty with has requested we... Oh, okay, so we've had City of London who voted in, no surprise there. Hugely diverse area, kind of like I expect Liverpool to vote in. Hugely diverse. Manchester, Birmingham, I kind of expect the same of, to be honest. Inverclyde have voted in, again, Scotland, not surprising. Weymouth and Portland have voted out, though, so there is still a 2-point lead to the out camp. It's about 30,000 votes in it at the moment. Kind of not surprising, and the turnout is around 70%, so a little higher than general election, but still a long way to go. Flintshire has voted out. North Wales, not a total surprise there, I don't think. I think the North Wales kind of suffers from what the north of England suffers from as well, is that it can often be overlooked by different councils. I spent some time there as when I was working on a panto, and you get the feeling that a lot of the money that was pumped into Wales really hadn't made it this far north, which... you can talk about the north-south divide forever, but I'm not going to. I'm going to get back to the game. Oh, Middlesbrough have voted out. So that lead, that 1-point lead is now, that 2-point lead is up to 2.3? No, 2.6%. So it's not a big lead, a big swing like what Sunderland brought in early to the in camp could take it back to in. It's going to be worrying a few people, I think, tonight. But, yeah. The swings to out, probably worrying people. But a big swing to in. Could even things out. Definitely, yeah. Looking at the figures, Swansea in or out. Now, I've lived in Swansea. I'm kind of interested to see what happens. Here we go, Swansea. Let's see what you do. Abertawe. Spent a good, 8 years or so living there? Maybe more, I don't know. Come on, how are you voting, Swansea? How are you voting? Of course, the problem with Wales is they'll have to give them in both languages. Yeah. Well, while they're waffling on, should we extradite or keep him here? See, the thing is, I am a big believer that if you come from another country, if you commit a crime in a country, you should be tried by the Swansea have voted out by almost 3,500 votes, a little over 3,500 votes. That's surprising. And Gwent have voted out. I am surprised at those swings. I seriously thought that Swansea, that Wales would be far more in than out. We've still got a lot of places. There's still Cardiff. Cardiff could swing it back. The north is very rural, very sparsely populated, as is sort of the centre of Wales. So it's really South Wales where the population is densest. So with a few in South Wales really voting out, it's surprising. It could help swing it. I'm surprised. The thing is, I say I'm surprised, but I remember the EU being seen as a bit of a joke when I was in my late teens and early 20s, and it shouldn't really surprise me, because there seemed to be a lot of Eurosceptics as I was growing up, as I was as was in my more sort of early adult years, which I still am, but earlier, late teens and early 20s, and I remember there being a lot of Euroscepticism. Now, whether that's influenced because that Euroscepticism was all from Wales, I don't know. I've never really thought about that. Incidentally, I'd like to point out, I love that Sky News are using a yellow and blue system. I never liked the red and blue of the in and out campaign as they were going. Red is inherently an aggressive colour. It's something that those colours are evocative, and I think by going yellow and blue, the EU have made that Sky News have made a really nice distinction there. They've not sort of red and blue. It could be easy to see, good and evil. It could be really easy to see enemy and otherwise. Anyway, I'm going to get back to the game. We're now making money. Our GDP is going up. We're now making a lot of money. Our popularity is fairly high. This is all looking good. Of course, we're at risk of getting assassinated by the capitalists, but, what are you going to do? There's not really much we can do to help them. I'm going to tick along a few more points. Oh, Manchester.